The laws of war, also known as international humanitarian law, IHL, constitute a corpus of principles and regulations designed to mitigate the impact of armed conflicts on civilians and combatants, safeguarding their fundamental rights and preserving a modicum of humanity amidst the brutality of war. These laws draw upon centuries of ethical considerations and customary practices and have been codified into treaties and conventions to guide the conduct of nations during armed conflicts. Herein lie the foundational tenets that underpin this venerable framework. Principle of distinction. Combatants must distinguish between military objectives and civilian populations. Deliberate targeting of non-combatants and civilian infrastructure is strictly prohibited. Principle of proportionality. The use of force must be proportional to the military objective and avoid excessive collateral damage. Actions causing harm to civilians or civilian property must be justified by military necessity. Principle of military necessity. The application of force is limited to achieving legitimate military objectives. Actions that do not contribute to the defeat of the enemy or the protection of one's own forces are deemed impermissible. Protection of non-combatants. Civilians and those who are no longer taking part in hostilities, such as wounded or captured soldiers, must be protected from harm. Humanitarian aid workers and medical personnel are granted special status and immunity. Ban on inhumane weapons. The use of weapons that cause unnecessary suffering or have indiscriminate effects is prohibited. Chemical and biological weapons, as well as certain types of mines and explosive devices, are subject to international bans. Treatment of prisoners of war. Captured combatants must be treated with humanity, protected against violence, and afforded the right to a fair trial. Torture, cruel treatment, and degrading punishments are strictly forbidden. Protection of cultural and natural heritage. Cultural property, such as monuments and artifacts, and the natural environment must be spared from deliberate destruction. Special provisions exist to safeguard sites of cultural significance. Ban on indiscriminate attacks. Attacks that cannot be directed at a specific military objective or those expected to cause excessive harm to civilians are prohibited. Area bombardment and certain tactics without clear military targets are deemed illegal. Human rights law in armed conflict. The fundamental human rights of individuals, even in times of armed conflict, are protected. Arbitrary detention, torture, and other violations of basic human rights are condemned. Right to humanitarian assistance. Civilians affected by conflict have the right to receive humanitarian assistance, and efforts to provide such aid should be facilitated. Blockades and impediments to the delivery of essential supplies are discouraged. These laws of war encapsulate a collective commitment to temper the ravages of armed conflict, fostering a semblance of order and morality amidst the chaos. Enforcing these principles not only safeguards the dignity and rights of those involved but also reinforces the shared aspiration to protect the very essence of our humanity during times of strife.